Good morning, everyone, and thanks for taking time to join our next iteration of the Dematic webinar series. As I stated, the webinars are intended to share information on technology, solutions, and trends that apply to companies in the supply chain. Today's webinar is the third and final in our three-part series, Android in the Warehouse, What Does It Mean and What is the Opportunity? The first two have been from Zebra and Honeywell and focused on what Android is and how it is implemented at a technology level. The webinar today is with Ivanti, who are going to talk through a solution that allows you to maximize your investment in Android. I think you'll find it really interesting, and I know that it does deliver real benefits to organizations. As I stated in the previous two, there really is a bit of a technology evolution, maybe a revolution happening that's being driven around the looming end of Windows CE. It's probably a bit bigger than Windows CE, but to keep it manageable, we'll use that soundbite. So what does that really mean? Well, and why am I impacted by it? The majority of people on the webinar are those using terminals. Are impacted by it simply by the technology they bought at the time that it was available. There are approximately 10 million Windows CE terminals in the market. A smaller portion of that in Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia. More specifically, 95% of the terminals in warehouse and manufacturing are CE-based, predominantly distribution centers. My name's Brian Lang, and I work for the Dematic real-time logistics team. Joining me today is Dave Thompson from Ivanti. Dave joined the AIDC industry in the mid-1990s. During that time has held roles, most notably with Honeywell and Zebra. Now with Ivanti, Dave has been assisting the partner community in ANZ to enable Android and Ivanti's Android modernization and speech solutions. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone that's joined.
Just some housekeeping before we start. The webinar today should take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. If you have some questions, if you can please enter them in the chat box, and we'll attempt to answer them at the end of the session. One of the challenges when you move from Windows CE to Android is really best defined by the definitions and their history. Windows CE is based on the Microsoft Windows operating system, but is designed for and including embedding in mobile and other space-constrained devices, where Android is a mobile operating system designed primarily for touchscreen mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets. Android, you hear things like Nougat, Marshmallow, Lollipop, and Oreo. So in summary, Android comes from a very different starting point and has a different strategy on version management, both causing opportunity and challenge. And I guess one of the opportunities that the Ivanti solution and Dave will talk through is really around the concept of a mobile device with a touch screen, and their solution really addresses that functionality. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Dave and have him walk you through Ivanti's solution around Android. Dave?
Hi, thanks, Brian. Introduction, Velocity is part of the Ivanti company, which is, many of you may remember a company called Wavelink. We still do call our products Wavelink products. So yeah, if you're just wondering, that's a bit of history. So what I won't talk about too much about technology, but what I will talk about. Can we advance to the next slide, Brian? Let's see. Yeah. So what I'll talk about, and people ask me why do I have to change? And I ask people about mobile phones, and I ask people in the room how many people still have a mobile phone with keys on it. And generally no one will put their hand up. And then I ask a second question, does anybody know anyone with a mobile phone with keys on it? And most people don't, because we've moved on. And I think it's the same in the terminal space. If we go to the next slide, Brian. Here we go. You'll see the same effect in the terminal space, where we've moved throughout the ages through DOS, Windows CE, and now to Android. And why do we do that? It's because the technology is changing, and we want to make use of that technology in our workspaces and garner the efficiencies that are gained by having the new terminals, exactly the same as in the mobile phone space. But why is the landscape shifting? I think Brian's pretty much already covered this with the advent of where we're going with CE, and extended warranty and support will be ending. And so what are the choices, and where do you go as a customer, and how does that impact you? So how is it going to impact my operational processes? Are the workers that are working for you, are they going to accept the change? This is probably one of the major things we find as we go out to visit customers, is that workers don't want to change, and most of us are resistant to change. And the other point is, how will it affect my applications, my enterprise, my WMS? How will it be affected? So first of all, what we want to say is that we're not going to touch the host. There's a lot of effort being put into your application. I don't know what you'll be running, SAP, Manhattan. There's a number of different applications, and it's been optimized. And changing that can cause a significant investment if you're wanting to change that. And what we want to do is protect and avoid any costly fees that you would incur. So how are you going to move forward? What's your plan? So what we talk to people about is, most people, they want to improve accuracy. That's where everybody as a customer wants to improve accuracy, and they want to move faster. They want to reduce the time it takes for somebody to do a task. They want to be able to the users of the system to adopt it quicker. We want to streamline processes, and all that tied together means that at the end of the day, you'll save money. You protect your investment, and you'll future-proof. So what is the solution? The solution we're talking about today is Velocity. Some of you may know it also as All Touch. All Touch is provided by one of the manufacturers. All Touch and Velocity are exactly the same product. So what is Velocity? First of all, before we go to that, we talked about no changes to the host. What we want to do is also provide a path where you can utilize the smart devices and use the touch navigation currently in your WMS systems. We want to enhance the existing apps, and we don't want to have a single point of failure. So all our products all run on the device, and there's no changes to the host. So your migration path. First of all, you'll be migrating to an Android platform. So we can migrate easily. The users of the WMS or the application that you're using will see no change. Then we can optimize. Then we can modernize, and then finally we can add speech, and we call it the MOMS approach. So the first step is to migrate. So what we're doing here is we're transitioning the customer over to native mode, which pretty much will look and feel the same as what they have been using for 20 years. It rolls out fast. It's a simple process to migrate, and then you know, you're up and running with a brand new device. It's just a straight TE Telnet session that you used to. The issue you have is whether you're with a keyed device or a non-keyed device. And the issues will come when it's a non-keyed device, is that you'll have the screen you can see here at the bottom. Maybe you'll need to scroll and do things. So the next step we talk to people about is optimization. And this is where we start to streamline the workflow and we add in keys. So this screen is looking for a numeric input, so only a numeric keyboard will come up. The other thing you'll see down the right-hand side is we've put in a few keys that make it simple for the user to go back, close the application, enter, or delete. Now, normally in a system, if you're in a WMS system, this might be an F3 key, it might be an F5 key, F7 key. We've talked to a lot of people that that work on multiple WMS systems, where an F3 key may mean something in one system but not in another. So this is where you can start to help those users that don't know the system, they're quite new to it, and it just makes it more simple for them to use the software and not have the training. So this is where we get into user acceptance, and where the users can go back to, if they're an older user. So we have customers where there's a lady that's been there for 20 years. She wants to stay in the old green screen, and because she knows the system, and that's how she uses it. However, there's younger people there, and it tends to be the millennials and the younger people that actually want to do things differently. So the next step in our MOMS approach is modernization. Now, currently we have a product, and some of you may have heard that we have a product. When you buy Velocity, you can actually have rapid modernization. So you can modernize your green screens to look and feel similar to what you're seeing on the screen there. So this is a full touch interface. Keyboards, as you can see, come up, and they're only showing, this is asking for a quantity, so it's only giving you the choice of a numeric keyboard. You can swipe and find other keyboards if you want to. You can see that the keys on the right-hand side are there for closing and back. The other thing you do at this point, and the last point, is you can actually manage those keys to do multiple functions. So to close out an application in a green screen may have taken 2 or 3 keys, whereas here you can close the application out, and that hitting that close button will actually, behind the scenes, it will do all the necessary functions to close out that. So what it's doing is it's simplifying it. It's cutting down on the training that's required for new workers. I mean, we talk to customers where it takes them 2 weeks to train somebody to fully use the system, and sometimes these are seasonal workers, and they're only there for 2 weeks. So what they do is they teach them to do something simple, and then that's the only task they can do whilst they're there. So this is where you can teach and help a new worker, and particularly a younger worker that's used to using a modern phone or and they can quickly come up to speed and improve the efficiency of what they're doing. So the final step that we can add is speech. Now somebody said to me, why would I want to add speech? Well, you think about, go back to the mobile phone analogy. I tend to use Safari, and I go up and I look up, and when I want to look up something, and in the meantime my daughter goes, okay Google, and has the answer within seconds. So this is a step where you can add voice to improve the function that the worker has to do. Think about where somebody is using two hands. The other thing is you don't need to talk back to it. It can be an instruction only. I think Dematic has been in the voice industry longer than anybody else in this country, and they're experts in that field. And they'll be able to instruct you where best voice can enable your existing app. Think about a forklift driver, and all he has to do is go to a location. Now he can look down at that screen, or he could have a headset on and he could be told where to go. He doesn't have to talk back. When he gets to that location, he can still scan, and voice or speech can be added to the terminals that you have, to the Android terminals that you have today. And all it's doing is enhancing the experience. The other thing it can be used for is training, where you can train a new worker and they can have a separate set of instructions where they can be stepped through the application, so they don't have to have somebody standing beside them teaching them and what to do next. So today it supports 30 languages, and we run, and it can also run on the native screen or the modernized screen that you see here. So you can turn this back to a green screen and it will still work. The other thing is you'll see a little button down on the left hand side. At any time you can press that button and it will give you the options of what's required. And that's the case through all the screens that you've seen today, that somebody can actually press that button and it will tell them what they can input. So in conclusion, hands off the host. I think we've covered that that it all runs resident on the device. So we're not doing anything to the host. All we're doing is utilizing the power of the Android device. And we talked about why you moving to Android devices. These are the options that you have. I can't think how I would do my job if I had an older type mobile phone. I'm utilizing the phone that I have today to its utmost, and I couldn't do my job. And this is the same that's going to happen in the terminal industry. It's easy to migrate. So what we've showed is that you can migrate today and you can modernize later. So you can be up and running, look and feel, brand new terminal, and then as you want to and step through with the user acceptance, as I said, some will want to stay with the old system, that's fine, and some will want to be modernized, and they probably will tend to be the younger generation. And enhancing the apps, and I hope that we've been able to show you where we can enhance, and what we mean by that is that we can cut out steps, we can cut out screens, and we can move through the application and through the workflow a lot quicker by bringing up those special keys, so that the worker doesn't have to hit multiple keys to get through and finalize his job. So MOMS is the approach: migrate, your existing app to Android? Simple. Optimize is where you start to enhance the user experience and bring in the keys that are specific and the buttons that are specific for that screen. And then modernize. We talk about rapid modernization. I think we're talking about half an hour to or less. I know some people that can do it in about 15 minutes can actually modernize the 90% of your screens, and that's where Dematic will come in and they'll help you do that. Their expert team is led by Alex, and he's been trained fully on the Velocity, and him and his team will be able to help you modernize those screens. And then finally, we talk about speech. Now, this is not what we're talking about with speech here is not to. It's not a total solution. What it is we're adding it to the current situation and the terminals that you have. Examples, we've had places in the warehouse where they've had 15 terminals spread out across the country. They have multiple warehouses, but specifically within those warehouses, only about 4 or 5 of the workers would want to utilize the speech. Now, to do that, this is where we're saying migrating to Android. These are the options that become available to you once you migrate to that Android platform. I think that brings us to the end of my presentation. Great. I think I'll let you. I'll hand back to you, Brian.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dave. So I guess in summary, when you look at again what the challenge is, and it's really a whole generation of devices going end of life due to an operating system, and really moving from a really, I guess, controlled operating system to one that is relatively uncontrolled in Android. But what it does is, and part of that is, you're forced to change the device to go to Android, but in a warehouse, the likelihood is you're still running a telnet session, you're still running TE. So it sounds, the solution you outlined is really provided a tool to allow people to take use of that new technology, so touchscreen devices, like you said, not change their host, not have to worry about that, but still utilize the new Android operating system and get some real business benefits. So that's really good. I think it's a fantastic solution. We do have a couple of questions, and I guess and I'm not surprised, the most pressing one is the process. So it looks simple on the screen, but Dave, could you just sort of walk through at a summary level, how a company would go through moving from a green screen to going through those 4 steps, and what the process would be to change those screens and implement the tool.
Mm-hmm. I might, Adam, are you online? Adam should probably explain that a little bit better to me. I think I mentioned that the process takes Adam about 15 minutes, but somebody that's not working with it all the time may take a little bit longer. But are you there, Adam?
Let me just see. I think I think I've got him on mute.
Maybe he's.
Yeah, he's stuck in the ether somewhere, Dave.
Look, what can happen is if you have previously done some work on that, you actually take the screens and you enter them into it's an online tool, and you enter in what the device is, you enter in what the WMS system is. Now we have a number of WMS providers at the moment, in that list, and we're adding to that list all the time. You choose your device, your WMS, and it knows that how that WMS templates are, and it will actually run through and modernize the screens to probably, I would say, to about 80 to 90%. And then Alex and his team would provide where some of those little changes would need to be. So you can be up and running fairly quickly, but then I would say to fully modernize completely all the screens, it may take Alex's team 5 days to run through, depending on the WMS and depending on how many screens there are. But generally, it's a fast process. That's why we call it rapid modernization. And Alex and his team are set up to do that. Adam and I can assist as well and run through that. It was a lengthy process in the past, but that has now been improved, and we're improving it more and more. And as we're adding more and more WMS, the time to modernize becomes quicker.
Okay. Okay. Good. So it sounds like the process to get you've got a tool that you run the screens through, and you get most of the changes done. Then you really have to go back in and tweak some of the screens to finalize that process. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
The second question is, you mentioned no change to the host. Where's the application? Where does it sit? Is it on the terminal? Is it somewhere on a server? How does that piece work?
No, all our software, including the voice and speech, they all resident on the terminal. So we don't. We're actually taking the regular feed, and we're doing the changes on the terminal.
Okay. Okay. And the last question, and because we're sort of at the end, but and I don't know if you've got one, but I suspect you do. Just you might want to leave the company name out if you can. But is there an example of a customer that you can talk through that's gone through that process, either through all 4 steps or just a couple of steps, and what the impact has been for their business?
Oh, I think the funniest one is that I had a customer. I think they have about 100 terminals, and they had over 300 screens. And the process before, it's an older customer. It took quite a while, and then once we had the rapid modernization, I think it took Adam about 20 minutes to update it all. But the funny thing is that there was a lady that works there, and she said it wouldn't work, and she'd been there for 20 years, and they had a bit of a race with a young guy that only been there a couple of weeks, and with the new modernised screen, he was able to transact a lot quicker than her. So it does work. I mean, I know that that you've probably got some accounts we can talk about as well, but it's just a process, and some people only want to do some steps and some want to fully modernize. But we do have some case studies that I'm happy to share with people where they've taken the velocity right through, and they've also added the speech as well. So on our website, there are case studies if people would like to see.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Great. Okay. Thanks, Dave. That was really good. I guess the conclusion, it's really the same takeaway as the previous ones. I think the move to Android, causes a challenge, but it also really causes a real opportunity to look at your business process, take a look at some new technologies in the marketplace, look at tools like Velocity, and really build a better solution for your business. So, instead of just going out and buying the next device and when you upgrade and use it the same way, you really should be taking a look at how you can improve. If you're looking for what you should do next, there's a couple things on there. One is you can contact obviously Dematic and myself or Dave, and we'd be happy to sit down and talk you through that process. But I think the bigger one in the big red letters is if you're looking for a demonstration on velocity, we'd be happy to organize a free demonstration, come out and show you what the tool looks like and how it can be used in your business. So please take advantage of that. And like Dave said, information on the Ivanti website and also on the Dematic real-time logistics website. There's a bunch of information on solutions that you can I think will help you understand more about the solution and how you can use it. But like I said, I think it's a real opportunity to improve your business through a change in technology. Lastly, I'd like to thank everybody for their time. For those that sat in on all three, hopefully you found them worthwhile. Like I said, the first two were from Zebra and Honeywell, and really taking a look at technology, terminals, and what Android means for those terminals and how you manage Android's terminals through your environment. But I think the real practical application is using a tool like Ivanti to help you transform your business. So I hope everybody found the webinars of value. If you attended the first two, you should have received the presentations. If you didn't and you'd like the presentations from the Zebra and the Honeywell webinars, if you just drop us an email, we'd be happy to forward those to you. Last, I'd like to thank everybody for their time. I hope you found it worthwhile. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.